Good evening and welcome back. Attorney Jay Davis is here from James W. Davis and Associates for our It's the Law segment. Good evening to you.
Great to be here always.
Happy to have you on Wednesday. We're halfway through the work week. Well, we've been following the Brett Kavanaugh hearings on Capitol Hill. Kavanaugh could be the next justice to the Supreme Court. And we're going to talk about advice and consent of the Senate. So can you first of all just explain the whole process for us?
Well, it's really not laid out in the Constitution real well, except for that they would be confirmed through the advice and consent of the Senate. So what that means is sort of varied over the years. There's sort of the conservative take of it, which is basically look at somebody, evaluate whether or not they're qualified, whether or not they've had the correct, not leanings, but the correct background to understand and interpret the laws in the correct manner and interpret the laws equally for all people. But some people look at it and say, well, we want them to interpret it the way we think the law is. So there's been various points in our history where judicial advocacy was very prominent, and it has been in the past few years. So there's a lot of concern that if he gets on with certain viewpoints that it could disrupt where things have been going, because we have been making a lot of laws through the courts. Theoretically, we're supposed to make the laws with the legislature, get them enforced through the executive branch, and then back them up through the judicial branch to sort of make sure they're applied correctly.
And this is something we don't see very often, to have a new justice. So why do we hold, or why does the Senate hold these hearings? You kind of touched on that.
They hold the hearings for the advice and the consent time. So what that means, so someone would like to say, look, we'd like to advise you this is not the one we want. You know, a lot of the senators have already said, look, this is not what we want. We've already predetermined we're never going to vote. But what's going on now is they've asked for a lot of documents. They've gotten a lot of documents. They've asked for a lot of documents. So they're saying we need these documents to review this person that we weren't going to vote for anyway, or in some people we're going to vote for them no matter what they've done. Some of them we're not going to vote for them no matter what. So they want all these documents in order to sort of try to justify their position. So that's what's going on right now. It's sort of a circus. It's sort of like become a circus over the past few years.
A lot of different questions. I want to make sure we get to our last question here. Is it important to watch the appointment of a justice? Just everyday people, should they care? Is it very important for them?
It used to be that it probably didn't affect people, but in their day-to-day life. But now it does. It seems to have a lot of things, especially almost everybody is now segregated into some group. You know, they got gay rights, minority rights, women's rights. So everybody, at least half the population, you know, most people are now of some group. That's some predetermined group. And there's regularly things going on with that. We've got the Muslim ban. We've got judges deciding that the Muslim ban is not a correct ban. If there are certain Supreme Court justices, then that might actually hold as law. With other Supreme Court justices, it won't. So the activism has gotten very strong. So it's more and more important who it is that's there, who that justice is.
Yes, because they have a lot of topics to decide. Thank you, Jay, so much for being with us this evening. I'm going to send things on over to Cecilia for a final check of the forecast.